Okay, we'll start. Fine.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, fine. So this is your next section of your first module. Okay, in the second chapter, machine independent assembly features. Okay, so when you talk about machine independent assembly features, so So this is your machine independent assembly features. You will be learning the literals, symbol defining statements and the expression program blocks and the control section. See, the name itself says machine independent. What I mean by that is, if you are using all these the assembly features, okay, so it is not dependent on any machine architecture. You can use it either on the SIC machine or SIC machine. Okay, fine. How we say it is platform independent, the same way here the term is machine independent. So coming to the what is that literals. Okay, so what exactly a literals is? See, when you write a program, okay, as a programmer, so I have the habit of writing the end field. See, all these days you have seen, I've written a label followed by the opcode followed by the operand. Correct? No? So this is the way you write. So I write what is this EOF is. So I say that EOF byte and it is of character, that is the value which has to be stored in EOF, the label name. So don't get confused with this and this. Okay. So this is your label and this is with it should be within the single quote. So EOF. Okay. Now I want to see when you read the program, okay, so it is not user friendly. See, can you understand this when I read fill LDA EOF? Okay, so what do you mean by that? Whatever the value is there over here in this label, you load it onto the accumulator. But I don't know what is there in EOF until unless I go down. It is my forward reference, right? So until unless I go down to the assembly instruction and check out, but I don't want to do that. As soon as I read this instruction, okay, I want to know what exactly is happening. Okay, so that's why you go for the literals. See here, let the programmers to be able to write the value of a constant operand as part of the instruction that uses it. Okay, I want to assign EOF as a part of the operand itself. I don't want to use it as a label or memory variable. Okay. So I want to declare here only so that I can easily understand that what is being assigned to the accumulator. Okay. So this avoids having to define the constant elsewhere in the program and make up the label for it. That's what I said. So instead of doing the label over here, so what I do, I can directly assign equal to over here. Okay, to overcome the difficulty for the programmer. Okay, if I write like this, what happens? I have to remember what I have assigned, or I have to check out. If you have 1,000 lines of code and you have to check out what is being assigned. Okay, so I say that this is what the assembly I'll assign the direct value over here, that is constant. Okay, so how can you do that? That is using literals. See here, how do you do that is end file LDA equal to. So this is what you have to use it. Okay, equal to CEOF. See, it says that as you see, okay, the readability is also more friendly, and at the way at the same time the programmer need not worry what is that label defines to. Okay, I can easily make out here that LDA equal to EOF. So I have to use a assembly directive that is called as L2ORG. Okay, LTORG, in the sense this is the place where the literal starts. Okay, so if you have more than one literals, so I can pull all those literals either at the end of the program or wherever it is required. We'll see where to place the literal pools. Okay, fine. So here I'll repeat. How do you make use of the literal says? I say LDA, this is my opcode, and I'll use the sign equal to. This is my assignment. Okay, EOF, and somewhere else I have to say what is EOF. Okay, so somewhere else pulling up all the constant values is called as literal pools. Okay, so to make use of the literal pools, assembler doesn't understand. I have to instruct that through assembly directives only. So how do I instruct the assembler saying that this is my literal pools? Using assembly directive by name LTORG. LTORG stands for literal origin. Okay, literal origin. So this is a place where all the literals will be placed. Okay, so now here I have once again TDX equal to, this is after I define the pool. I have one more instruction. Again you have to say LTORG. Okay, fine. So now there will be a query. What is the difference between the immediate operand and the literals? Correct? No. See, this is my immediate operand. Yes or no? So LDA hash 3. What do you mean by this? I directly store the value of 3 into the accumulator. Okay. So the operand value is part of the machine instruction itself. But in the literals, generates the specified value as a constant. Okay. At some other memory location. Fine. See, have you stored 0, 3, 45, 40, 4F and 46? No. So literal will indicates me that it is a constant value, but you can find that at some other memory location. So what is that some memory location? The 2D. Okay, so when you do like this, okay, when you do like this, the object code is same as if you do with the labels. Okay, see, this is the example which is done with the labels, that is without literals. Okay, I have done end file LDA EOF, and at 002D I say EOF byte C EOF. Okay, now what will be the object code for this? LDA is always 00, right? And you will set it as 1 1, that is neither immediate nor indirect, that will be 3. Okay, that will be my 3, and after that this is my PC relative, so 0010, that is 2, and what is the distance? Displacement I have to find. 2D minus 1D, this is plus 3, no? A, B, C, D, so 2D minus 1D will be 10. Okay, if I do the same thing with the literals also, you get the same assembly instruction, that is object code. So there is no variation in the object code even though you make use of the literal pools. Okay, so that you don't have to worry. Fine. And normally literals are placed into the pool at the end of the program. Okay, that is usually after the end statement. If I make use of this way representation, that is making all the literals at the end of the end statement, what happens? Your PC relative will not come into picture because the address, the displacement address is more than my PC relative range. So you have to go for extended. So I don't want to go for extended instruction format. So what do? Instead of placing all the literals at the end of your program, I can place as soon as I use them. Okay, as soon as I use them, in the sense, as soon as I have this statement, after 2-3 statements I'll make use of L2ORG. Okay, at some other location in the object program. So for that you make use of the assembly directive LTORG. Okay, so this is nothing but you make use of the literal pools, or you write the literal pools immediately after usage of your equal to, so that you always belong to the PC relative addressing mode. If I write at the end of the program, assembly program, what happens? It will not come in the PC relative range. What is the PC relative range? Minus 20482 plus 2047. So it will be more. Suppose if you have thousands of instruction, then obviously it will not come in that range, right? Yes, so I need to go for the extended version. So that's, I don't want to go for that. So you place as soon as you declare the variables. Okay, reason, keep the literal operands close to the instruction. Okay, fine. So now for example, I have two literals. Okay, I have declared TD equal to X05. So I hope you know these two instruction. This is test the device and write to that particular device. Of course, as you have learned in the first chapter, when you want to read and write from any input output devices, you always have to test the device whether it is ready. If it is ready, then only you have to execute read and write instructions, right? So I have two instructions where that is x05 and x05. Of course, it has to be same because I am testing this device whether it is ready. If it is ready, I have to write into that particular output stream, right? So I don't have to make a duplicate entry in the what is that, literal pool. So how do you recognize that it is a duplicate entry, right? You have to make use of always, it is a set, okay? So can you have a duplicate entry in the set? No, right? The same way literal pools cannot have, or you need not place the duplicate entry. So one way is recognize the duplicate literals and store only one copy of the specified data value. How do you do that? Comparison of the defining expression. Okay, defining expression. So what is your defining expression? This. But for example, my defining expression is location counter equal to star. Okay, and I write the same way in buff equal to star. Okay, buff equal to star. So when I say star, there's a lot of difference. Okay, star always indicates to the current present location counter value. Okay, if you use it somewhere else, then that represent that particular location counter value. Okay, if you have such instructions, if this is the case, fine, you just compare with each one, then you say that it is the duplicate entry. If you have like this, then you cannot resolve this conflict, okay, because the location counter value for the particular this statement will be different, and if I use the same thing after 10 statements will be different. So you cannot say that it is a duplicate entry. Okay, to overcome those difficulties, you have comparison of the generated data value. Okay, so generated data value is your, the suppose I say 05. Okay, so it will be the what is the generated value for that? 05 only. Suppose I say EOF, what is the generated value for that? It will be 45464F something. At the same time I say SSD. Okay, so that time also you have a different value generated. So you say that the two different literals, that is two different literals are not identical by making use of the comparison of generated data value. Okay, so when you do like this with the first type, then you have a conflict over here. To overcome that, what will be generated for this? 05 will be generated. Okay, and what will be generated for this? 05. If I have EOF, the generated value is different. If I have SSC, okay, that is instead of SSCD, if I say SSC, then I get a different generated value. So you make use of the generated value, but it is little complex for the assembler. Okay, but never mind, but you have to come or resolve the conflict. Okay, fine. So how do you implement the literal? That is, I know that this is a literal, but how does the assembler recognizes that this is a literal? Okay, as I said, you have to make use of the assembly directive, that is LTORG. Okay, when I encounter, that is when the assembler encounters LTORG, it has to make use of one of the data structures. Okay, that is literal table. Okay, so lit table, it will make the data, it will generate the data structure. Okay, that is a table which will have a literal name and the operand value and the length and the address assigned to the operand. Okay, so how this will be, it looks like this. I think no, I'm not written. See here, it's like this. Literal table as the name of the literal, okay, and the generated value, so 454F46, and the length of that particular, that is the literal, okay, and the address, okay, where exactly it is being placed. So when I get the one more literal, what I do, I'll start comparing with this value. Okay, that is what you learned just now, right? So how do you make identical and unique entries? That is using the comparison of the data values. Okay, right? The same way here, see literal name, the operand value and the length and the address assigned to the operand. How exactly it works when I make use of some data structures in assembler? So every data structure has to pass through two passes, that is pass 1 and pass 2, right? So in pass 1, it will build the literal table with the literal name as I said, and when LTORG statement is encountered, it assigns an address to the each literal. Okay, so it is always, see, as soon as it sees the particular EOF equal to CEOF, it doesn't know the address, right, until and it finds ahead. So that last column will be unassigned. See here, it is unassigned. Okay, only when the LTORG is encountered and that particular the variable is declared, okay, with the value or assigned with the value, then that particular address is assigned. Okay, so initially it will not be assigned because I don't know where do I find that. Okay, what do I find initially? I'll just find only this much. See here, I'll just find only this instruction. I'll find only this instruction. Correct? No? End file LDA equal to CEOF. Okay, fine. I'll find only this much instruction. I'll add it to the literal table. Okay. When the address will be assigned, this address will be assigned only when I get like this LTORG. I have an address over here, correct? No, I have an address over here and the value over here. So that time, that value and the particular address will be assigned. Okay, fine. So that's where you have to be very careful while writing. So address unassigned, but when it sees LTORG, that is encountered, it will assign the address for that because I do the displacement. Okay, that is PC relative, it is always. Okay, fine. In pass 2, it will check out, okay, the literal table for each literal operand and generates the byte or a word statement, that is the right hand side. Okay, and updates this in the lit table, that is literal table. So that is with respect to the literals. Okay, fine. So why do you go for literals? Instead of making use of a memory variable, what we call it as a labels in my assembly language, instead of making use of my memory variables, so I directly say that this is the direct constant value what I am storing or what I am holding it in. Okay, so when I see this statement, see there's a lot of difference. As soon as I see this statement, it indicates me that, okay, A is loaded with EOF, okay. But if you see these two statements, okay, so if I see this first one, LDA EOF, I never know what is EOF until unless I come to this particular instruction. Okay, so for programmer purpose to make readability and the user friendly, you go for the literals. Okay, so that is the implementation of your literals and how do you overcome the duplicate literals and how do you make use of the literal table, that is construction and making use of the literal table in your pass 2. Okay, and the next machine independent assembly features is symbol defining statements. Okay, symbol defining statement. So that means it is nothing but your alias. Okay, it's nothing but my alias. I say A equal to 10 or A equal to B, okay, or A equal to A star B, okay. So I want to define that. As soon as I define the symbol, okay, the value of such a label is the address assigned to the statement, okay. See, labels on the instructions are data areas. So that will be the value of the particular address. But when you define the values, the value can be, see what is the syntax? I have a symbol and it is equal to and the value. Okay, fine. that value can be either a constant, as I said, a equal to 10. Okay. So next is it could be other symbol also. That means a equal to b, or it could be expression. So a equal to b plus c. Okay. So why do we go for these symbols? Making the source program easier to understand, and I don't need any forward reference. Okay, that means you cannot make use of the forward reference variable. Okay, fine. So it's quite natural. How do you do in your programming language? It's the same way. I have to declare B before using it. Yes or no? The same way here, it's not allowed. The forward reference variable cannot be used as the equate symbols. Okay, it has to be defined first, then only I can use that particular symbol. Say I say a equal to b, and can you say int b later? No, not at all. So that is my forward reference. So that is not allowed in symbol defining statement. Nowhere, right? So that's a natural way of programming. Example is, see here, max length equate 4096. Okay, so the same instruction, if I write like this, plus LDT hash 4096, what do you mean by that? The register T is loaded with the value directly, that is 1000. Correct? Now 4096 has to be converted to my hexadecimal value. So I load that. So indirectly I say that somewhere. So I need some 1000 bytes of data, right? So 1000 bytes of data which is required for some purpose. Okay. So this can be made more readable when I say that max length equate 4096. Okay, max length equals 4096. What do you mean by that? I assign this value, okay, and to the max length, and I store that max length over here. Okay, this is the reverse of your literal. Okay, reverse of your literal. So I say that LDT hash max length. Okay. So this is more clear than this. Okay. So what is clear over here? So I say that the register T is loaded with these many bytes. Okay. So the maximum length. So wherever, if I want to change this, no, 4096, I can change at any point of time. If I want to store some 2000 bytes of buffer, okay, that is area, I can change it over here only directly, the 4096 plus 4096, that is in hexadecimal I'm saying 2000. Okay, so if you want to increase, in general, if you want to increase this value, you can directly increase in this statement. If you write like this, you have to keep checkout in your instruction wherever you are using it. Okay, this is equivalent to your the macros. I say hash define, right, pi and 3.14. So if I want to change the value of pi, I can change at only one instance. Correct? No. So it will be updated everywhere it is being used, right? So the same way here, it acts as your macros. Okay, user defined macros. So if I write like this, I have to check out wherever I have said 4096 throughout my lines of code, and I have to keep changing everywhere. But this is more or readable than this statement. Okay, I'll repeat, this is equal to your macros, how you say in your programming language, hash define maximum length, right, our hash define pi 3.14. I want to make it as 3.15. I'll just make the change in only one line of code. Okay, so that will be updated automatically wherever max length is used. Okay, the same way here, say base equate R1. Suppose I have a set of registers, right? Of course, yes, I have a set of registers which can be used for my purpose. Okay, so what I can do, I can assign, or I can say that R1 register is used as base register, and R2 is used as a counter variable, and R3 is used as a index register. So wherever you want to make use of R1, you can make use of the base, okay, the name base. So that indicates what are the type of the usages it is being done. Okay, instead of saying R1, R2, R3. So these names are more clear. The naming is more clear than the usage of the registered numbers. Okay. So that is one usage of symbol defining, and the other advantage of using the symbol defining is, suppose I want to include or I want to add or subtract some of the values. Okay. So I can make use of max length equate buff n minus buffer. So these will be already predefined. Okay. Buff n minus buffer. Okay. This is same as your expression. So I'm showing the example for the value can be constant, or it could be other symbol, or it could be expression. Okay. So value could be constant, right? This is my symbol EQ and the constant value, and the value could be other symbol. Okay. And value could be some expression also. Okay. You can hold expression over here and store it. That is assignment statement. Okay. It is equal to your assignment statement, what you do in your programming language. That is, your programming language is converted. No, of course, yes. When I say assembly language, what does it mean? Your high level language is converted to my assembly level language. Okay. So that is your symbol defining. And there's one more way to do. Okay. That is ORG, indirectly assigning the values to symbol. Okay. So this equate, this is one of the assembly directive. Okay. As you have learned in the first chapter and the second chapter, I hope in the second chapter you have learned few assembly directive, that is start, end and base. Then you have learned reserve word, reserve byte, word and byte, right? Along with that you have LTORG now, that is one of the assembly directive, and you have one more assembly directive, that is EQU, and you have one more assembly directive, that is ORG. Okay. ORG is nothing but origin. Fine. So it indirectly assigns the values to the symbol. Okay. So when do I go for this is, suppose I have this table and I know how many entries I need. Okay. So instead of blindly assigning, I just say the structure of this table. Okay. I'll indicate the structure of this table, and whenever I want to access some value within this table, I can always do with the base, right? Base pointer, correct? No. So for that purpose, you go for the ORG directive. Okay. Assembly directive. So it resets the location counter to the specified value. Okay. So if I say ORG, then it will always be pointing to the current, okay, current location counter value. So this value can be either a constant or other symbol or expression. So if you are using a symbol, it should be previously defined. Okay. That means there is no forward reference. If you have an expression, that also those expression symbols should be already predefined. Okay. So that's why we say that there is no forward reference. That means forward reference is not allowed when you make use of the ORG. Okay. Here there is an example. So I say that symbol, this is my a variable. Okay. Structure, this is structure. How do you define your structure? The same way. Okay. The structure name is tab. Okay. And structure has three variables, that is symbol, value and flags. Symbol is 6 bytes and value is 1 word, that is 3 bytes, and the flags are 2 bytes. So how many bytes you need? 11. Okay. So when I say 100 entries I need, I say S tab of 100. So how many memory bytes will be allocated? That is 100 into 11. Okay. 100 into 11, that is 1100 entries will be allocated for this particular structure type. Okay. I hope you are getting why we use ORG is, suppose I say symbol define, I have to explicitly say each and every one, but I want to associate. Okay. That's why there is a difference between a variable and a structure. No. So variable is individual memory location. A structure is a pool of memory location. Right. So this is my structure. S tab, and symbol is one of the variable within a structure, value and flags. So when I want to access any of the value or a flag, I always go with the current, that is a starting address of the that is the structure, and followed by the offset. So to go for that, to make use of those stuffs, I go for the ORG. See, whenever you want to load the value of that particular index, okay, fine, into the accumulator, I'll declare like this and I say the LDA value comma X, okay. See here, using equate statement, okay. So if I have to do the same thing, okay, the same example, they have shown the difference between equate and ORG, okay. So if I use equate, I have to reserve a number of bytes, that is 1100. Why 1100? Because it is 100 into 11 bytes. Okay. And hello, everybody is there? Hello. Yes, Mithun.
Yes, ma'am.
You're listening,
Yes, ma'am.
Mithun?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, fine. So this is the difference between your the equate and the org. So I have to explicitly define what is symbol, what is value, what is flag. But here see, stab, reserve byte and 1100. I say org stab. What exactly happens here? The stab will hold the current location counter value. Okay, the current location counter value, that is 1000, will be started. And I say that this is as usual how you declare. Symbol is reserve byte and value is reserve word and this. And I say how much memory I need, or this is org stab plus 1100 says that once I declare this structure, the next symbol will be assigned at this particular memory location. Okay, at this particular memory location. That means I started at 1000 till 1009. Okay, I have my structure, that is STAB. After this, whichever the variable you are declaring, that will take the location value, that is 1100. Okay, 1000 plus 1100. Fine, ba? So now if I don't specify this, automatically it will take that particular location counter value. Okay, I'm repeating. When you start, it will take the location counter value, and when you are ending, if you don't specify this, it will take the unassigned next location counter value. But there's a lot of disadvantage of using ORG. Okay, what is the disadvantage of ORG is, suppose if I keep on using this ORG, you will be keep varying your location counter values. Okay, and at the end of the day, I don't get the proper object code. Okay, proper object code will not be generated if you make use of org n number of times. So that's why we don't prefer to use the org in the assembly instruction. Okay, fine. So that is one more the machine independent assembly feature. The next machine independent assembly feature is expression. Okay, now what do you mean by expression? I say A equal to B plus C. That's my expression, of course, yes, right? So that A plus B can be, expression can be either absolute expression or it is a relative expression. Okay. So what do you mean by absolute expression is, you'll have only one value at the right hand side. Okay, and it is not paired. Okay, it is not paired with any of the other terms. So you have max length equate buffend minus buffer. So both buff and buffers are relative terms, okay, representing addresses within the program. Okay, but when I evaluate this expression, buffend minus buffer, okay, suppose I say 2000 minus 1000, okay, I have already defined buffend equal to 2000 and buffer equal to 1000. At the end of the day, what you will get? You will get the subtraction of this value. So I'll get the absolute value, right? So when relative terms are paired with opposite signs, okay, the dependency on the program starting address is cancelled out. The result is an absolute value. Okay, see here, one is plus, the other one is minus. It has to be, okay. when you pair the relative terms, it has to have the opposite signed the addresses. Otherwise, it will be cancelled. That means it will be cancelled and you get the absolute value. Okay. Fine. So none of the relative terms may enter into the multiplication or division operation. These are the conditions. Conditions to have on the right hand side of the expression. Okay. What are the conditions for having what you can have on the right hand side is both has to be paired with opposite signs, or you can have directly the constant value. If you have a relative terms, how can you pair that? Okay, one way is you should have with opposite signs, that is one is plus and one is minus, so that you get the absolute value. Okay, you should not get, once I evaluate this statement, I should get the absolute value. Okay, so that is one constraint. And none of the relative terms may enter into the multiplication or division operation. So you cannot have 3-star buffer. Okay, or you cannot have buffen plus buffer. Okay, so do you have an opposite signs over here? No, it should have an opposite sign. Okay, so next one is constant, the other one is a term, but you don't have a relative term for this particular buffer. Okay, and I cannot have 3-star buffer. Why you cannot have this is because star always indicates me the current location pointer. Okay, but if I use a star in my expression, so it will interpret that and it will take the different value. So that's why I cannot have star and division operation in my expressions. Okay, so when you say some expression like this, it will always keep track, that is symbol table. Okay, you have written here symbol table. Symbol table will keep track of all the terms, whether it is a relative term or whether it is a absolute term, and the value of that. Okay, what do you mean by relative term? That means it is a memory address. Okay, and it needs some pairing. If you say absolute address or expression, that means you will have a direct value with that. Okay, that means along with the symbol table, whatever you have, name of the variable and the address, and you have a type and you have a value associated with that. Okay, so as I said, you have somewhere around 126 or 256 entries in the symbol table. Okay, as you read your SS entire book, you will learn the complete symbol table structure. Okay, see here symbol table example is there, what exactly it will hold. So this is your regular symbol table where I have only the label name and the value, but along with that I will be having the type of that. Okay, whether it is a address or whether it is a direct value. Okay, so this nothing but relative, that is the expression or the terms or the absolute expression. Okay, fine. So that is the structure of the symbol when you make use of the expressions. So here literal table. Okay, as I said already, literal table will have the literal name and the value corresponding to the literal and the length of the literal. Okay, EOF is 3 bytes, and the address. Okay, this is needed because when you learn the program blocks, okay, literal table will be used. So this is with respect to the machine independent assembler features. Okay, so you get one question on this. I'll just repeat. Okay, fine. So you have first is my literal. Instead of making use of a memory variable, I go for directly assigning the value like this, that is literals. Okay, next is you have how do you overcome or how do you implement the literals using LTORG, that is assembly directive. And when you implement that, you have to cross check whether that you don't make duplicate entry, because it works as a set. Okay, fine. So there are two ways to check out for the duplicate entry. One is defining defining expression. So if you define an expression, there's a problem with the star, okay, because star always indicates me the current location counter value. If you use it in a star in the expression, that is different, okay, but it cannot make out the difference between the current location counter value and the operator, okay. So that's why you don't make use of this type of the comparison, and you go for the generated value, that is whatever you have it over here, okay. Fine. And next is the literal table, as we said, and the next one is symbol. Instead of I can assign the constant value directly to the symbol. See, this you don't make more useful, but when I make use of like this is very important, okay. See here, every time I make use of R1, R2, R3, I have to check out what is R1 is used for what purpose and what is R2 is used for. But I say it is used for base, count and index. If you use these terms in your the program, okay, it's very easy for me to understand that base means it will be using a base register, or if I use a count, it will be using as a counter variable, or this register might be used as a index register, okay. Fine. So that gives me more readability, okay. Fine. Clear picture will be there. Fine, ba? So that is your the symbols. And next is org. So when you want to have a structure with continuous memory location, I go for the org. But the drawback of org is every time it will be reset to the current location counter value at that particular point of time. So if you keep on using org in your statements, that is assembly program, so you will end up with the object code which is which is not correct, okay. So we avoid using org, okay. Origin, org stands for origin, and the last one is expression. I can assign expression, but you have some constraint over here. That means I cannot have the same sign, okay. This is also plus, this is also plus. If I don't specify anything, obviously it is plus, but I should have a opposite sign. I cannot leave one of the relative terms as it is, okay, with the constant value, and I cannot make use of the star and division, okay. Fine. So that is with respect to your the expressions. So tomorrow we'll just see the program blocks and the control sections, okay. So what is the use of when do we go for program blocks and the control sections, okay. Fine. Any doubt? Any doubt? Yes, Mithun? Hello,
No, ma'am.
Mithun? Hello.
Hello.
Any doubt, ba? Any doubt?
No, ma'am.
You have to read the book, okay, as soon as I complete the
Ma'am, I have
session,
doubt
no?
regarding SSNCD case study, ma'am.
Hello?
Yes, ma'am.
Hello?
Hello.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, so you have to read the textbook or the notes as soon as I complete here, okay, otherwise you'll forget. Fine, ba? I hope you're doing that, okay. Fine. Otherwise it looks all you can see all 7 wonders in SS. Fine. So because the textbook is very nice, but it's very complicated to understand, okay. It's very complex for the first time reading. So once you read for the second time, then only you can understand all the concepts from the book, okay. Either you go through the book or you can go through the notes as soon as I complete the session, okay. Fine. Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Any doubt, ba?
Ma'am, I have doubt regarding case study, ma'am.
Case study, okay, tell me.
Ma'am, you told to implement code to
Be
generate
louder. I
assembly
cannot
language
hear